Welcome to another video by Galactic Collector, where today we're going to take a look at how to repair broken X-Wing wings. If you're like me, over the years you have collected a bunch of X-Wings that have broken or missing wings. They may be missing their right wing, their left wing, both top wings. They're not very often missing their bottom wings. It's usually one of the top wings that breaks off, either one or both of them. Just a quick note, a lot of times the wings do get bent and that's how they end up getting broken to begin with. So this fix is not going to correct the bend out of the wing. The only way to do that is to carefully apply heat. This fix is to fix broken wings where they're completely separated. So what we've come up with here is a couple of reinforcement kits, a thinner one for thin cracks or if you have a clean break, or a thicker one if you have major damage or even missing sections that you need to repair. So a clean break is where both pieces will still fit nicely back together like a puzzle. Here's an example where we've got a clean break on one side but really missing a section on the other. And here's an example where I actually married a brand new wing from a different X-Wing onto one that was just missing a wing. These are designed that they're almost impossible to see once fully installed. They've got a low profile so they won't interfere with the opening and closing of the X-Wing itself. So the first thing that I recommend is taking a look at how these get placed on the X-Wing. So this gap at the top, the T that's on the wing will actually sit right in about the middle of that gap. So once you're comfortable with that placement, if you have, we're going to start taking a look at, we're having a clean break. So the first thing you want to do is actually glue this guy back together. And I like to use Plastruct plastic weld. This stuff works great on vintage Star Wars, anything. Works great on really dissolving plastic and getting it to rebond to itself is really what's going on here. So I'm going to take and apply a liberal amount to the open broken end on one side here. And I'm going heavy here because I want a thorough connection here. And going heavy means it's going to take a little bit longer to cure. However, it's going to mean that we're going to have a good bond in the end. So we're going to squeeze this together, and ideally, if you have some clamps ready to hold that together. Now you can see here there's actually some plastic oozing out. That's a great sign. That's showing that plastic is melting and you're going to get really good adhesion there. So I've let this set up, and really all we're going to do is glue this repair kit in place. So again, I'm going to apply a liberal amount all over where the connection is going to occur between these pieces. And this does evaporate fairly quickly, so I should be moving faster than I am. Hindsight's always 20/20, but it still works in the end. So we're going to get this guy in place here, and really make sure it lines up properly. Make sure that it's not overlapping the gap in there, because that will prevent the blue section that holds it in place from actually connecting in there. And go all around and make sure you have a good connection and good adhesion and no gaps. And you can either hold it, if you put on as much of the Plastruct as I did, it's going to take a while for that to set, so your fingers are going to get tired. I do recommend some just crimp-on style clamps, just the spring-loaded ones. They hold pretty nicely. So I've let that set up, and you can see I got some plastic oozing out here as well. If you see any gaps along the edge, I recommend going back in later and reapplying more of the plastic cement that you're using, super glue, whatever it may be, and really getting good adhesion there. So we can see this has been repaired. It's very strong. It's as strong as any X-Wing that you'd want to shake around here. We are good to put this back into play. So here we are. Our X-Wing is reassembled with that reinforcement piece in place. Our X-foils are practically good as new. They open. They'll stay in the locked position. You can't even really see it. If you look down in the crack, you might be able to see that repair piece in there, but we are good to go here. Now we're going to take a look here at an example of where I had an X-wing that was just completely missing a wing, and I didn't have the top wings, but I was able to find some extra top wings. So what I'm going to do is take the thicker repair piece and use that to marry this part onto that other X-wing. So again, we're using Plastruct, and in this case, I'm not going to glue the wings together first because they don't fit together. So what I'm going to do, because now I know how this part goes on, I'm going to get the repair part glued into place, clamped and set up before I install it on the main X-wing assembly. So again, I'm being very liberal with the adhesive. And then we will put this in place and clamp it up and let that set. Now again, make sure you get your alignment, and you want to make sure that the opening on the repair kit is going to match the opening that the blue clip it needs to slide into. So if you have to slide it around a little bit, go ahead and do that. But get it in place and clamp it up and let this sit, at least for a couple of hours or possibly overnight if you're patient enough to let it sit overnight. Now for the main unit that it's going to be assembled on, I do recommend having the both parts in place so that you can align this top wing with that lower wing. So you can see I've got the pin in place here. And again, because this wing isn't meant to go on here, I can't rely on just the brake itself to get it in proper alignment. Now, if you had a wing, if there was too much plastic on it, of course, I'm assuming at this point that you would have cut it off so that they fit together closely enough here. In this case, these wings were so far apart, there was such a big gap in the brakes that I didn't have to worry about that. They fit together pretty nicely, but with some big gaps there. So now I'm going to put this in place, and again, I'm aligning it to that bottom one that it's sitting on. Make sure you didn't get so much glue in that it's connecting the top to the bottom wing that we're just using for alignment. But then we're just going to go ahead and clamp this guy up once it's aligned right. You'll be able to flex this around a little bit if you need to once the clamps are on, but get them on as quickly as you can. And again, we're going to let this set up at least for a couple of hours, if not overnight. So here we go. You can see I still need to find another wing to repair the other top half here, but this particular set is good to go. It's almost as good as new. It's very strong. The color's a little off, so they don't quite match up quite as nicely as I'd like. But really, we've got a usable X-wing again. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Make sure to check out the link in our comment section to purchase the repair kits on our eBay store if you're interested. And make sure to check out galacticcollector.com to learn more about your vintage Star Wars action figures. Thanks for watching.